When you go to like when you travel around, how much research do you do to a place before you like travel there?
I mean, research is in like in the language.
In anything, you know.
Like very little. You know, language wise, I'll probably learn how to order. I don't because I normally, you know,
I'll maybe learn like basic greetings, like hello, thank you, stuff like that. But yeah, I'm not going to learn like
just enough to
full sentence structures.
Hopefully, not be a nuisance.
Yeah.
But then obviously when you check into hotels and stuff, you'd like, okay, please have English.
Yeah.
Just you know.
Because I had this when I went to Vietnam, because it's been like quite a while since I had just traveled to a new country that I had just never been to before. And it was just like a quick weekend trip. So I didn't actually do that much research after I got off the plane. And I was like, oh shit, is English as common here as it is in Thailand? Fuck, I don't actually know. I didn't bother learning any Vietnamese phrases because I'm just here for the weekend.
Yeah.
Fuck. So like it was just like that kind of realization of just, oh, I'm that dumb tourist now. Shit, I am actually that dumb tourist now.
Right.
And it's a feeling that I guess like I'd forgotten for a while, because most of the time when I travel, it's like fucking America or like other English speaking countries, you know. So
I think like the mentality I go into it is like, say like, you know, a couple of months ago I went to Korea for the first time, right? Where it's like, you know, in Korea most people can speak English.
yeah.
You know, at least
did you know that beforehand though, or
I'd heard about it.
Okay,
but.
okay.
You know, they say that about a lot of countries, and it's just not true, right?
Yeah.
So, you know, I went in there, you know, being like, all right, well, you know what? I'm probably not going to bother, like, you know, learning, you know, a lot of, like, extensive phrases or anything in Korean, but I'll just learn the basics, and then when I get there, I'll try and learn as much of it as I can. Like I'm much rather in this headspace of like, it's better to be that dumb tourist, at least to show that you want to kind of learn the language. And I think that is just as appreciated by the locals than you already knowing it, right?
Yeah.
So like there were so many times where if I knew that, like, you know, I'd go to a random food stall in Seoul and the guy would be speaking to me in English, I would just be like, how do you say this in Korean?
Yeah.
And the guy was very happy to like teach me how to say it. And you know, when I would reflect back on it, he'd be like, yeah, there you go, you got it.
Yeah.
You know? And so I think like just showing, no matter what, you know, no matter how it is, just showing that you are interested in it, I think is what will get the locals to be like, all right, cool. You know what? I respect that. And I think the only reason why that doesn't work as much in Japan as it does in, say, Korea, is because a lot of Japanese people are a little bit afraid of
reserved
to talk to foreigners and tourists, whereas in Korea they're a lot more open about it.
Yeah.
You know, they're being like, yeah, you know, you're a tourist. Yeah, I see tourists all the fucking time. Well, you know, I'll teach you some words.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you find out like when you went on your Euro trip, like this is like pre-pandemic? Did you, because you went to like a lot of different countries in like a very, very short period of time, but I guess you had like a guide, right?
We went to like six different European countries, all for the first time. But because it was me and Aki's first time in Europe, so we were like, I'd rather go to a country where I have like a friend living there, like a local who can show me around. So like I had my local friend with me there, but also, you know, I did the same thing where like whenever I would be served something, I would ask the store clerk or whatever to be like, how do you say this in French or Italian or, you know, whatever country I'm in. And I think for the most part, they seem to appreciate it.
Right.
I think,
Yeah, I guess, being...
Do I remember any of them? No.
No, you remember it for that one trip.
Yeah.
Sometimes you just fly somewhere and you're like, maybe I'll just quickly Google some
Dude, when
phrases.
I was in Finland, I learned so much fucking Finnish. I couldn't tell you a single fucking Finnish phrase right now.
I think when you're a tourist, it's like, as long as you're not being a dick,
Yeah.
not
Yeah.
disrupting anyone, I think it doesn't really matter.
I think there's nothing wrong with being the dumb tourist. I think the problem lies in being the arrogant dumb tourist of like, you're not open-minded enough to like involve yourself in the culture. That's when you kind of get the stink eye. But if you're like, you can be the dumb tourist, just be like the curious dumb tourist.
I think it's just looking up maybe like what the general kind of etiquette is on certain places before you turn up is probably just best.
Yeah.
You can watch a fucking top 10 list of things to do and don't do.
Yeah.
Like, you know, in Japan and every other country on earth probably that
Yeah.
just tells you, hey, this is a cool thing to do. This is definitely not a cool thing to do. Like, I think that's just, that helps.
Yeah, I look into that for sure. Because the last thing I want to do is be the dumb tourist that also offends the country. I mean,
Yeah, I think as long as you're, polite, I think, whatever. Who cares? But we dunk on tourists.
Yeah, we dunk on tourists a lot. Even though we a lot of the times we are tourists.
Yeah, I think it's, ultimately, there's nothing wrong with being a tourist, of course. Yeah. Because you fucking have to be.
Yeah. Everyone's a tourist.
Yeah. But, I think it's just, hey, if you're chill, who cares?
Okay. As an Australian, right? So in England, I don't know if this is just, I don't know if this is just like a British thing, but one thing I've noticed is, as a Brit, every time I see like a Brit abroad, like making a fucking fool of themselves, which I've seen so many times, I'm like, England's got the worst tourists in the world. And then I was talking to Sydney and she was like, no, Americans are the worst tourists in the world. And then one time I met a French guy and he thinks they're the worst tourists in the world. As an Australian, do you think you are like the worst tourists in the world?
Oh, 100%. Yeah. Australian tourists.
The more shit. Actually, to be fair, the more I see Australian tourists, the more I'm like, I actually think Australians might be the worst.
Australian tourists are the fucking worst, dude. Because they're so... what is it? It's okay.
It's okay to be a tourist. All right, let's racially profile.
It's okay to be a tourist as long as you're not Australian. No, okay, it depends because it's like it depends on the location with Australians, right? Because I think Australians in like say Tokyo or Osaka are for the most part pretty alright.
Yeah,
but say Australian tourists at ski resorts. Fucking worst. They're horrible.
You work with them, right?
Yeah, like, I worked with them and I can 100% say they're the worst. Because like I think it's like Australian, I think a lot of Australian tourists because, for the most part, we're a very, very multicultural country. So we're just living in Australia, unless you're living in like the buttfuck middle of nowhere, you're most likely going to run into different cultures, right? Whether you like it or not. So I think for the most part, Australians who live in cities are naturally inclined to understand that there are cultural differences wherever you go, right? Not just language differences. But I don't know what it is about the atmosphere of a ski resort in Japan that just makes Australians go, yeah, fuck the culture. I'm here to rip the snow, dog. I don't
alcohol.
Alcohol. That's what it is.
A lot of alcohol. It's kind of set, like hotels are kind of like a dorm in a weird way.
Yeah.
It feels like, you're kind of
a lot of these like ski lodges, they do kind of like have more of like a Western feel of just come in, it's casual, hang out with the people in the lounge area. Oh, they're all Australians as well. You guys will get along fine. Go, rip it in the snow, whatever.
Yeah.
But then they take that energy to the nearby village and the nearby cities. And it's just like, because I remember when I worked in Hakuba, I would, frequently go into like Nagano and like Niigata to do some work. And you'll see those exact same like ski bro Australians in these
Niigata?
Cities. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, Niigata and Nagano, because the two main ski resorts are in Niigata and Nagano. And you'd go into the cities and you would see the ski bros there. And they're just some of the most loudest, most obnoxious tourists I've ever met. I'm just like, bro, we're not in the ski lodges anymore. We're in a city with hundreds of terrified Japanese people. Calm down. Keep it in the lodge.
That's funny.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I just noticed as well. Normally, when I meet like British people in Japan, they coming to Japan, most of them are like pretty chill, right?
Yeah, all of them are pretty chill.
For some reason, I every time I see, especially English tourists, especially in like Southeast Asia, in Thailand, I saw.
Well, it has a reputation. Right?
Oh, I saw so many when I went to Vietnam, and every time I heard the English accent, I'm like, I do not know this guy.
This is not my man.
I am Thai for the rest of this trip, actually.
That poor taxi driver who thought English people were gentlemen. I mean, I think there's certain destinations that, let's say, more bang for your buck money-wise, that I think attract a certain type of British tourist.
Yeah.
And probably other European tourists too, but mainly British ones. That
Like what's like the main, like, I guess, party country or party location for like British people, for instance?
It's like Ibiza or like
Spain.
Mallorca. So a lot of like the Spanish islands, some of the Greek islands.
Because in Australia, that's Bali.
Oh, right.
And so when you go to Bali, I've personally never been to Bali before, but I've heard stories of just like the most obnoxious Australians in Bali, just like fucking trying to make it like their own.
Because you
home.
combine like extremely cheap transport. cheap accommodation and
with like the party atmosphere.
Parties
party
and
atmosphere.
extremely cheap alcohol.
Yeah.
Countries like I guess like Vietnam and Thailand that are pretty cheap to eat and drink.
God,
and
I
stay.
saw so many people from Essex in Vietnam, man. I saw there was this one girl who was clearly from Essex, like having an argument with like one of like the Vietnamese bartenders,
the fucking waiters.
like over like the price of this beer or something, which the price of this beer was about $1. And she was like, no, like I got 2 for 1. And she was like shouting at this waiter. And then I don't know, I was like standing there for like 5 minutes and the waiter just comes up to me and just goes, I fucking hate English girls. And I was just like,เข้าใจ.
I had that in Japan. I was in an izakaya, and this like group of like 4 young Australians like walk in.
Yeah.
And I could immediately hear from their accents, not from the city.
Yeah.
So they
Boy,
sit.
Jono,
So oh, this place is kind of shit, eh? Yeah. So they just like sit down. They're so fucking loud. Even though we're in an izakaya with lots of people, I can hear them like clearly, like they're sitting next to me. And I remember this fucking like the waiter comes over, you know, asks for whatever. They're ordering drinks and then they're ordering food, and this fucking girl just like goes, "Oh, so the fried chicken, is it free range?" And I'm just sitting there like, bro, you're in a fucking kinokura. Like what? Why are you expecting fine dining in a fucking dirt cheap izakaya? And I just started laughing. I'm like,
She shouts to the waiter.
huh?
To the waiter.
To the waiter.
Oh my
in like the most Aussie accent. Clearly, this guy doesn't understand. Right? He's just
Right.
like, oh, sorry.
I think if you explained it in perfect Japanese, you'd be like, "What the fuck are you talking
Yeah.
about?
So what does that mean?
What are you fucking talking about? Free reign?
And she was just
GMOs.
and she was just like, and she just kept going on and on and on, being like, if it's not free range, I don't really want to eat it. And I'm like, dog, you should not be in Japan at that point. Just don't even bother. Just go to a fancy
I
restaurant.
need to know if this eel died peacefully, or if it died by hands of a man.
Like you're one step away from being like, oh, so is this meal vegan or just fucking, oh my god. I'm like, dude, okay, I get that you have like, you might have like dietary issues or whatever, right? Like, if you want to know like, oh, does this have peanuts because I have a peanut allergy or something, like. Dude, you're in the cheapest izakaya in the middle of Tokyo.
Yeah.
Do not expect free-range chicken.
Man's probably getting paid like $5 an hour to serve you. He's not getting paid enough to deal with that
And I
conversation.
felt so bad because the guy had to go back and like get clearly like a staff who understood a little bit more English.
Yeah.
And just like this argument, it seemed like it went on for ages. And it's just like this manager's trying to tell him, being like, okay, so not gonna lie, we don't know if it's free range chicken, but we can guarantee it's good. It's tasty.
It's probably frozen.
It's 400 yen. I don't know what you're complaining about. And this girl just kept going on and on and on. I'm just like, dude, come on, man. Like, why? Why are you doing this? So yeah, Australian tourists are the worst.
Yeah. One thing I'll say about American tourists, the stereotype is that American tourists are the loudest tourists.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that's necessarily true, but for some reason, like every time I see an American tourist abroad, whatever country it's in, for some reason they always have the most recognizable voice in any establishment. Have you noticed this? I don't know why.
Actually, I think every American I've seen in Japan has been super polite.
Yeah.
No, they have. Yeah.
Yeah, they have. They have.
It's very easy to hear them out. So.
Yeah. For some reason, you could be like the loudest like bar you've ever been to, and you'll just hear that one American accent that will pierce through everything being said.
This cocktail's fucking delicious. It's just
I don't know if it's because like we just consume so much American media that it's an instantly recognizable kind of accent. I think that's why. Like, 'cause we hear so much American accents that when we hear it in real life, we're like, oh, I can immediately hear that.
Yeah.
Right. I don't know. I can't put my hand on it.
Do you have that like level of, I don't know if you guys have it for British tourists, but like, do you have that like split moment where you hear that British accent, you're just like, my kinfolk.
Oh no,
because I have that with Australian tourists as well.
Most definitely. Except if it's in Southeast Asia, in which case it's probably I should avoid them. They ain't my mans. I'm Thai for the day. I only speak Thai.
You don't see a lot of British people in Japan though. It's kind of rare.
Yeah, you
It's a
don't.
lot of Americans and a lot of
which is why every Brit I've met here has been pretty cool so far, pretty chill.
You have to like Japan to want to go here. I think, as a British tourist,
Yeah.
because it's literally the other side of the world. It's like a 20-hour flight.
That's true.
14-hour flight. Like it's long.
That's how I feel about Australians in Europe.
Yeah, like,
they've committed, man. They've
all right,
committed.
you must really like Europe. If you're gonna sit on a plane for 22 hours, all right.
The good thing about Europe is if you don't like one of the countries, you're like, right, I guess I'll take the 20-minute cab ride to the next one.
That's true.
Yeah.
Oh, you didn't like Liechtenstein? Well, lucky for you, you're a 5-minute walk away from anywhere else.
Just across the road.
Yeah, you're literally good to go, like wherever you want to go.
Oh my god.